here right now with my good friend, colleague, brother Theodore Thorpe, who is, I mean, you're talking about somebody that's just taking this city by storm.
Oh, God bless you.
Theodore Thorpe is doing a major work, not just in the life of the church, but he's also doing a major work in education, in music education. So Theodore, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
So happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. He's the choral director at TC Williams. He's also, I'm not sure what your title is, at Alpha Street.
Music director.
Music director at Alpha Street Baptist Church. I was going to give you some grand title, you know,
no.
second to the apostle of music. But Alpha Street, of course, is doing great things under the leadership of Dr. Joyce Garrett and so many great musicians over there, Melvin Bryant, Marcus. It's just a great time to be at Alpha Street. Amen.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about your beginnings. How did you get started in music?
How did I get started in music? I started playing piano at the age of 4. Watching my dad at the piano, sit at the piano. Started practicing at the age of 4. Formal training at the age of 5. And
who was your first piano teacher?
Who was my first piano teacher? My father.
Your father, okay.
My father. I completely idolized him. You know, he's no longer with us. He passed this past December.
Right.
So everything that I did in life was always trying to make him, my mother, proud. Funny thing about studying piano is I told my students all the time, I was one that hated to practice. I hated to practice. I mean, I loathed practicing. I mean, when I would come home, you know, before I could go out on the street and play football with the rest of the guys, I would have to come home, do homework for an hour, then practice for an hour, and then I could go out and play football.
Well, it's dark by then.
Yeah, but I had to be in by the street light.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
You could tell that window of opportunity to play. But what I learned from that is that I thank my parents for making me practice.
Right.
Because it's paid off.
Right.
I mean, tremendously. And I tell students and parents all the time, if you see a gift in your child, it's your responsibility to foster that.
It's a responsibility.
It's a responsibility to foster that gift. Because when time of judgment comes and God says, where's the gift that I gave you? You asked for that son or you asked for that daughter. Where's the gift that I've given you? What have you done with that gift? So
Where did it turn when it no longer became a challenge to practice? When you stopped loathing, you was like, you accepted it.
You know what? And I didn't learn this until later, but my mother shared with me that it's one thing when you get your child to practice and they may not like it at first, but what she said that stuck with me is she said, I lost myself in the music. And once she saw that, she knew there was no way she was not going to foster that. Or just, you know, some parents will say, okay, well, you'll try something else. You'll try tennis. You'll try something else. But once she saw me at the piano and I lost myself in the music, she knew that it was her responsibility to keep me going.
Was your dad a church musician too?
He was. He was a conductor.
Okay.
Was conducting all over New York, specifically Handel's Messiah.
Okay.
You get it honestly then.
Oh yeah. It's
No mailman there.
Yeah, it's strange the way our lives paralleled. I mean, there's photos of him conducting 40 years ago, the same things that I've conducted, 40 years later. How he met my mother is the same way I met my wife. It's just eerie, but instead of saying eerie, it's just God's design.
Right.
And so my parents are the source. They've instilled within me the desire to not just thrive, but to strive for greatness, because striving after perfection is striving after God. So
I hear the Lord saying, you're living their legacy and God's will at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
So you started playing at age 4, formal lessons at age 5. When did you know that this is what you want to do for the rest of your life?
That's a good question, because ironically, a lot of people don't know this. I went to school as a biology major.
Is that right?
Yeah. I went to school as a biology major because, coming up when I was coming up, it was still said that you're not going to make any money in music.
Right.
I don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to support yourself, let alone a wife and a child. Do that as a side hustle.
You need to work with this stethoscope.
Yeah,
this
you need to
telescope.
work with this stethoscope. You need to go either be a doctor or a lawyer. And so I can remember my freshman year, it was about 150 of us in that stadium seating in that biology 101 class. The professor said, look to your left, look to your right.
Here we go.
Next semester, half of you won't be here. And next semester, we went from 150 to 70. And I can remember specifically one student, a really good friend of mine, who decided not to pursue biology and pursue music and vocal performance. And you may know her, Brandy Sutton, wonderful coloratura soprano.
Wow.
And is now on, performing at the Metropolitan Opera now. And the professor said to her as she was walking out to change her major to music, only 1 in 1 million really make it.
Wow.
She turned back to him and said, I'll be that one.
Come on now.
And so when you know what God has desired for you, and when you find what your purpose is, you can't let anybody stop you. And so I would dare say that I found my purpose probably a little later. I still held on to biology.
Right.
And a lot of people was like, why do you keep holding on to this? I'm always thinking my parents sent me here to study biology. And then I made changes. I wanted to be a cardiologist, and I wanted to be a dentist. I mean,
well, you was following the money.
Yeah, so I'm like,
following the
because,
money.
at the time I was in the Aeolians.
Right.
So I was in the Aeolians all for 4.5 years there. So I was still gravitating to the music department, even though I was walking across campus to the biology department. I would still go over there, practice in the practice room. I joined the Aeolians, and I became a music minor. And then it just switched. I said, you know what? I'm just going to follow my passion. I'm just going to follow it. And I switched, and I became a biology minor, and I became a music major.
Let's bring our audience up. Okay, you're a native of Brooklyn.
Crown Heights.
Lifelong SDA?
Lifelong.
So a lot of SDAs go to Oakwood University to study, and the other one is Pine Forge, right?
Pine Forge Academy.
Pine Forge, okay, and you joined the Aeolians, and you were a biology major.
I was a biology major.
And you gave up the ghost eventually and became a music major.
But a funny thing is, it didn't even stop there. I was actually on my way to dental school.
Is that right? This is turned into
I'm
comedy.
I'm trying to tell you. I got it.
What is your degree?
Right. Actually, I was taking the DAT, dental admissions test, and I was accepted on my way into University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I totally changed my mind. I said, you know what? I'm going to go to grad school for music.
Is that right?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so answer this. Okay, I didn't step into a Seventh-day Adventist church until I was in college. I was strikingly surprised. So you need to answer this question for me as a person who didn't realize this until college. What is it that the Adventists do with musicians and singers that is so many of them that are great? What is the formula?
It's a funny question because culture is everything, and especially in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, you have a breadth of talent. But the culture is that every child grows up learning the hymns. They understand. They know
something to be
all
said
the
about
hymns, and they grow up listening to barbershop quartets. They start their own quartets. I remember I had a group in 7th grade. It was 4 guys. And that was just the culture. So you start singing, you start working together, you start arranging. We got kids now that are arranging in 5th and 6th grade. I mean, through composed pieces. And so the culture was iron sharpens iron. And so when you have a conglomerate, if you will, of all this talent from all over the United States, all over the world, coming to this one institution at Oakwood University, I mean, you're exposed to so much.
Right.
People like Whitley Phipps, Take 6,
Sure,
Mervyn Warren.
sure.
So many people who have come, Brian McKnight, that have come out of
Virtue, right?
Virtue.
Yeah, I remember.
That have come
Kirk
out of
Whalen.
Kirk Whalen.
Yeah.
I mean, John Stoddard. So
Right.
many, so you're exposed to all of this. And so, and it's not like, oh, that was cool. I had a great experience. No, you're soaking it in, and I'm going back to the keyboard. What did they do? What was that chord he played? What was that transition? Okay, we got to get we're gonna get 5 guys in the bathroom. We're gonna figure this out because in the bathroom we need great acoustics.
Right.
So we're gonna figure, and it was just this insatiable desire to want to expose yourself to all of the idiosyncrasies of sacred music, whether that was sacred classical meets gospel, or some of the more contemporary styles of worship. So it was just this insatiable desire to want to be so great.
When did you get into gospel?
When did I get into gospel? At a very early age.
Okay.
Growing up in church choirs. I started in this choir called Child of the King Choir, where it was just this huge children's choir. But it was called children's choir, but it was ages 10 through like 17, all the way up. Choir director, and then you just see how a choir director can shape music and inspire so many kids who could easily be on the street. I mean, I grew up in the 90s where Bloods on this side, Crips on this side. You could easily be doing anything else. And so in church and coming to a rehearsal on a Friday night, you know what I mean? Teenagers doing that. So I grew up in that at a very early age.
So who are your heroes, musical heroes? Some of them.
Specifically in sacred music?
No, it could be anything.
I mean, I'm listening to everybody.
Recently.
I gotta call Darren Atwater out.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a big friend and a mentor, a visionary, and a musical genius. When I look to sacred, classical aspects of gospel music, there's no one else I consider higher than Richard Smallwood.
Absolutely.
When classical meets gospel music, and then you have some of the greatest choirs in the world. I grew up on James Hall in Brooklyn. James Hall Worship and Praise.
James Hall. Nobody had vibrato before James Hall.
No, listen,
Ricky Dillon.
Ricky Dillon out in Chicago.
But James Hall had a special.
James had a certain sound. Ricky had a certain sound.
Right.
And so you kind of splice all of that together.
Right.
And then when I got in the Aeolians, that was another level of
It
music.
is. It still is. Yeah. It is another level. I think the Aeolians are the greatest choir in America. I really do.
I would definitely stand by that. Jason Ferdinand is a real good friend of mine.
Yes.
And he's doing amazing work.
Yes. And next time they come to town, I need y'all to stop past my Baptist church because Aeolians are just. I need to fall out. I need to fall out one time. Musicians fall out. We hear certain things. It's just hit that note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those harmonies, the way things progress, how things are put together, really ministers to us in a different way than a person that's not musical per se. Let's talk about T.C. Williams. I want to spend these moments on T.C. Williams because what you have done there, I don't know how you did, I don't know how you got started, I don't know how you built the program, but I'm sure there was a journey. But what you're doing at T.C. Williams is very, very special.
Oh, God bless you.
Let's talk about T.C. Williams. I mean, how did you build that program?
Well, it's funny you asked that question because I'm actually working on my first book, and it's called The 7 Steps to Choral Success.
Wow.
But the tag is breaking a culture to build one.
Okay.
Because I truly believe that in order to build a culture, you have to go through the breaking first. And the breaking is the hardest part. So when I got to TC, and there was like maybe 25, 30 people in the entire... Now, you talk about a school... 3,500 students,
right?
The largest high school probably in the state of Virginia, and the only one in the city of Alexandria. And I had a program of maybe about 32. There were like 6 guys in the entire program. And when I told those students that we were going to be the best choir in the state and we were going to have after school practices, and they're looking at me like how you looking at me now,
right.
You talking about us,
right?
And so the first couple of years were the hardest, establishing that culture that there's a standard that we're going to uphold, and you probably won't see it within the first year or two,
right?
But you'll notice the dividends after year 3, year 4, with students coming in, freshmen, understanding your culture. I also started our boosters program.
There it is.
Which is it was three or four parents at the time, and 3 or 4 parents came to me and said, "Listen, we can help you. Let's start this." And we got lawyers involved, and we became a 501c3, and now it's paying back the dividends
right.
Itself. You know, we used to operate with maybe like we said would probably take about $10,000 to run the whole school year. You know, now that's probably $60,000-$70,000, and so to see how it has completely grown over the past 8 years and going into season number 9. It's like wow,
Right. Where these 9 years?
Yeah, where these 9 years go.
fast.
But the beautiful thing, if I could put it in a nutshell, is I would say, for me, the beauty is watching growth
Absolutely.
and learning over accolades or achievement. And I think sometimes we can conflate the two.
Right.
But it should always be about growth and learning.
Right.
Because some of the things that we teach in the classroom are transferable. They'll never forget them. And so that's the beauty of it, is watching them from their 9th grade, you know, budding all the way through their 12th grade.
Right.
And I tell those parents, let them stick with me in the whole program. Don't let them take another class. Let them come in and watch them grow. Watch them get to their senior year and their senior. You know, we have a senior awards banquet every year where the seniors get to sing their final song, their final goodbye, and it's an emotional one.
Every time. I know it is.
And that for me is the joy of it.
Right.
That lets me know I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
I need to get to high school.
You all are doing a fundraiser right now. Let's talk about that.
We are. We are traveling. We've been blessed. We just had our local festival, and it was a blessing. All 3 of my groups for the 8th consecutive year all got superior ratings. So proud of those students. And so we're traveling to Florida, Orlando, to the Disney Choral Festival. Haven't been there since my first year, and this year we're actually flying. So talk about growth. When it was like, okay, I'm gonna write this little last check and we're gonna put it in there. Nobody sees what I'm doing. You know, Bruce is always slapping me on the hand. Please don't put your own money. You know, but to get a bus to go to Florida, to now we're trying to fly, and so we fly out on April 5th. The trip is April 5th to the 8th. So that Aeolians concert you were talking about was a fundraiser. We had a couple fundraisers in the local Alexandria community to help.
Do y'all still need money?
Yes,
How can people give?
Oh, thank you so much. They can go on to tcwilliamschoir.com.
tcwilliamschoir.com.
And every single page, you'll see a little button that says how to give. We're not playing around. It's any way you can become a sponsor.
I like the fact that you have immersed TC Williams, which in my eyes, you know, is, I'm not sure what the makeup, what the racial makeup is, but you have immersed them into some of the African American church culture. So I want to congratulate you for that.
Oh, wow.
Because most of the time, you know, the teacher would probably just shy away from that. We all know Virginia schools to be a predominantly Eurocentric ideas, Eurocentric methods, and in terms of music, very Eurocentric too.
Yep.
But you brought a different, like you said, break to build. You know, that's Bible.
Well, the funny thing about it is, as you know well, in the public schools, there's a limitation in terms of what you can say. You know?
Right.
But I try to live the example.
Amen.
You know, I always tell parents, you know, my classroom is not a structure for indoctrination, but you should be able to tell that I love these students from my heart and the way I live and the way I carry myself. So if they meet me on the street, then they may want to ask, well, who's this God that you serve? You know, and so that is when you teach from your heart. It's, you know, it's
absolutely.
It's
authentic. I got to come by and see you more often. My brother's over there with you.
Yeah.
And I got to come by and get some tips, because I'm, you know, where I'm at. It's a wonderful school to be at, but it's not quite the program that you got going on. And sometimes iron sharpens iron. You just need to see something greater, so it can inspire you to do greater things. At West Potomac, you know, we are dealing with what everybody's doing. You know, we're dealing with school violence and the potential threat of school violence and all that. And we need encouragement. You know, we need inspiration as teachers. And a lot of people are talking about students, or, you know, protecting students, but teachers need protection too.
That's right.
We want to be able to go home to our families and our children as well. So I want to congratulate you for being one of those beacons of light in the Northern Virginia area.
I can't take all the credit. I got to shout out my wife.
Well, absolutely.
My wife, Jennifer Thorpe, she is my rock. She's been
absolutely
with me every step of the way. And so if she wasn't here, she should be sitting right here.
Hey, well, we need to bring her on next time so y'all can tell us all how to stay married. We'll play music.
He sound like he gonna get in the house tonight.
Yeah, she might let him in.
Let him in tonight.
Just might.
Let's talk about Alpha Street in our last few moments together. How did you get to Alpha Street?
Woo. everybody knows who Joyce Garrett is.
Absolutely.
I would say she's one of the maybe four or five individuals that has the keys to the city musically.
Mm-hmm.
She is the most phenomenal person you will ever meet. And she took a chance on a young 23-year-old right out of undergrad. And I think she always tells the story that Tommy Tyler called her and said, I have this young musician who just came out of Oakwood. And he's in the area. He hasn't gone to grad school yet, but he's looking. And I actually went on Craigslist, but tell you the truth, and there was an opening for a position at the Washington Youth Choir, which was an after-school music program that she started after she retired from Eastern. And I applied, and she found out there was a board, and we interviewed. And she called me one day. She said, I want you to just come by the house. You know, I just want you to come by the house. Let's talk. And she said, yeah, we have an opening at my church. And the way it has shifted, I came even before the new pastor. And he's getting ready to celebrate 10 years. So I've been at Alpha Street 12 years. So that church family has watched me grow from a boy into a man. They watched me get married. They watched me find my first home. And I've been in that ministry, and it has been a blessing. They have been a blessing to me, and it is. I couldn't go anywhere else.
You still serve at the SDA church too?
I actually don't serve in the SDA church. That's where I worship. I worship at the Restoration Praise Center, Seventh-day Adventist Church, where Paul Graham is the senior pastor.
Where's it located?
It is located in Bowie, Maryland.
Okay.
Melvin Bryant also serves there.
I know I heard the name for some reason.
Yeah. So a lot of times on Sabbath, I really just try to do what the Bible says and just rest.
Amen.
I try to.
Amen.
Although I'm being pulled in so many different directions, I'm still trying to find that center of not just trying to be busy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And still give God the time that He is.
How do Adventists? Because ever since I served at a Seventh-day Adventist church, I have studied Adventists and Adventism. How do Adventists observe the Sabbath now? You know, back in the day, they had a whole bunch of strict rules. But how do you do it now, like from Friday night to Saturday night? I mean, you know, how do you rest in this big area and, you know, all this stuff that's going on?
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, from a biblical perspective, it is from sunset to sunset, evening in the morning, just the next day. So Sabbath begins sunset Friday to sunset Saturday. And it can be challenging. You just have to prepare leading up to Sabbath. So you do a lot of things on Thursday evenings. You try to get the home ready. And because you know how much you're going to be doing as a musician over the weekend. And so it's that dichotomy that exists. Well, I'm resting, but I'm serving at the same time. Right? I'm serving all weekend long. I'm serving Sabbath morning. I'm serving Sunday for church, you know. And so they always say the musician's Sabbath is Monday morning, unless you're teaching.
Future plans?
Future plans, we talked. We definitely want to record. We definitely want to record. I'm trying to make it to 10 years. And my kids are always like, no, you got to be there to 10 years so we can do a 10-year anniversary concert. You know, they're keeping pressure. I mean, I got kids that got kids now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I got kids that are in PhD programs and still calling me and saying, do not go anywhere until we do 10 years. So I would like to record, and just, I think that would be a staple to put, just as a group, a beacon of light for the T.C. Williams High School. They always say our music programs are the programs that show the best and the brightest of our student population. So I would love to record.
Hobbies other than music?
Hobbies other than music. I'm a movie connoisseur.
Well, I saw the Black Panther, the whole, you know.
I mean, I go all in.
There you go.
Lord of the Rings, I mean, I'm going all in. I have Lord of the Rings watch parties, you know, all that. So, but I definitely love, I'm a people person, so I love to entertain. I'm a big foodie. I'm a big sports guy. Go Tar Heels. So glad that Duke went down.
Yeah.
So I'm all the way sports.
That's awesome, man. Well, look, thank you so much for being on this
Oh,
program.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a blessing to have you. Y'all go online and donate to T.C. Williams.
God bless
My
you.
wife just
Bless
passed me a note here saying that Dr. Williams and his daughter had a baby boy.
Oh,
so praise God.
congratulations.
Praise God for them. And we look forward to having you back, man. And we
thank
just
you
wish you
so
the
much.
best in all your endeavors. May God bless you. Of
Thank
course,
you. God bless
as
you.
people tell me, and it still does not yet appear
Does not yet appear.
what you shall be.
God bless you.
One of these days, we're going to be like him.
Oh. That's
And
what
you know,
we
the
look forward
older I get, the more I'm looking forward now to actually having an encounter of face-to-face encounter with Jesus Christ. You know, I want to see the person who has brought me this far, who has
We'll see our loved ones.
who has delivered
Yeah.
me from my mess.
Yeah.
And I tell Alice all the time on the phone, we preach to each other all the time. So you know, I preached my initial sermon long before I became a preacher. But I tell him, I said, you know, at the end of the file cabinet, when he rose the file cabinet, I hope the last folder says grace. And with that being said, you all have a great week on Real Talk with Phillip Carter. We'll see you again soon.
For more information on how to become a guest on Real Talk with Phillip Carter, or for general inquiries, please email us at realtalkwithphilipcarter@yahoo.com. Tune in next Monday for another edition of Real Talk with Phillip Carter.